Welcome to Becoming Homesteaders. Today I will be making grape jelly with the leftover grapes that we picked in Geneva, Ohio. We had 67 pounds of beautiful concord grapes, and today I will be working on the last flat of grapes, processing them into grape jelly. Hey guys, it's Jenny with Becoming Homesteaders, and we are on day 3 of processing our 67 pounds of concord grapes that we picked. If you missed any of those videos, we have one that is Camping with a Purpose, which is our trip to Geneva, Ohio to pick the grapes. I will link all of these videos down below. There's also a grape juice making video and a grape jam. So today we will be making grape jelly. And I'm using the same book that I used for the jam, which is this magazine. It is the Ball's Blue Book, Guide to Preserving. This is a great book. It has a lot of really good recipes. And I think I picked it up at Walmart. I don't even remember where I got it, but great resource to use. But today we'll be using that recipe, and it seems pretty easy. It calls for 4 cups of concord grape juice, which I'm using the juice that we made yesterday during the second day of juicing. So we'll be using that juice as well as 1 packet of the pectin, and it's calling for 6 3/4 cup of sugar. But as you will see in my jam making, I usually cut the sugar. So the jam called for 6 cups of sugar, and I cut it back to 5 cups, and it was perfect. The taste was great, and it gelled up wonderfully. So I'm probably going to do that as well. I have a hard time adding so much sugar to these. So we'll see how this one turns out, though, because this one does call for the pectin. Yesterday, the grape jam did not have pectin in it, so we'll see how this turns out. Okay, so here I have the juice and the sugar, and we're going to cook this down and dissolve the sugar, bring it to a boil, and then add the pectin. All right, so we have the heat turned up pretty high, and we're going to bring this to a rolling boil, stirring constantly so we don't burn it. And once it comes to that rolling boil, we're going to add our pectin and bring it back up to a rolling boil. I did end up cutting the sugar, shocker. I only put 5 cups in, and it called for 6 3/4 cup. So we'll see how that turns out for me. Just feel like that's an awful lot of sugar, and that's even the recipe that is low sugar. So I usually don't use pectin either when I'm making jams or jellies. Sometimes then that requires the cooking time to be a little bit longer, and I feel like sometimes the flavor of the fruit has a little more of a cooked flavor than the fresh flavor when I'm using pectin, but sometimes not. So I am using pectin today. We will see with my altered sugar amount how the flavor is. So I think it'll be fine. I'm just a little bit worried about the gelling since this is just all juice. So we'll see. So we have that nice rolling boil. We're going to go ahead and add our pectin. That's going to slow that boil down, but then we're going to bring it right back up to the rolling boil just like this. So we added our pectin, and it is at a hard boil, and it doesn't stir down when I stir it. That's what we want. in order for that pectin to do its magic and gel this for us. So I have my timer on for 1 minute. We're going to let this boil for 1 minute. And fingers crossed, we should have some jelly. It smells really good. I just feel like that's a lot of sugar and then it makes it too sweet and you really don't have that fruit flavor. Okay, so we have removed the heat and we're going to go ahead and start ladling them into the little jelly jars and then process them in the water bath canner. I sterilized my jars and then I put them in the canner just to stay warm. So we'll do 2 jars at a time. That way the other jars can remain in the canner until I am ready for them. We'll add the liquid and that'll keep them hot. Looks pretty. And these jars are very hot. So if this recipe works, I have more grapes to process today, so I may end up then making some more jelly. Or I also thought about making juice and just not adding the sugar to it, canning it, and then maybe like in January or February when it's one of those yucky cold days outside, bringing out a jar of that beautiful grape concord unsweetened juice and making another batch of jelly, which would be a great idea. Also, my husband said today that since we are blessed with all of this grapeness, we should plan on giving these away as some Christmas gifts, which is a great idea. Maybe make a nice loaf of some sourdough bread, package some jams and juices and bread up in a little basket for Christmas. That would be a nice gift. I'm sure my family is going to be wanting to try some of this. They are always expecting samples of my stuff, but they might have to wait until Christmas this year. I don't think I got these quite full enough, so you want to leave about 1/4 inch headspace. And these, oh yeah, it is very sticky. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with this gelling up at all, which is super exciting because then that will be a good recipe to keep. So I've made grape jelly in the past. It's been a while, and I did not keep the recipe that I originally used, unfortunately. So, and I think this will be just enough to leave us for a sample. So this is what we have left with. So I feel pretty good about that. All right, so now I'm going to use my little bit of vinegar in my jar. I'm just going to go around and make sure there's no, double check for nicks or any sticky, juicy residue left that would prevent the jar from sealing. Give it a good little wipe off. These are really hot, which is good. Put our lids on. They are looking beautiful. Our rings to fingertip tight. We will lower them into our water bath canner. And then we'll process these 15 minutes. Is that what this says? 10 minutes. 10 minutes for half pints. So while the jam is in the canner processing, I thought I would get the rest of the grapes out that we still need to process. And I was trying to think of something else to do creative with all these grapes other than more jam, jellies, juice. And I think I'm going to pop a few of these off. This cluster was so beautiful. And I'm going to put them in the freezer and freeze them. And just use them for ice cubes. Maybe when we have a fruity drink, we can pop some of these into our drink just to make it look pretty. I'm sure they won't freeze well, but I have so many, I could certainly afford to put a couple on a plate and freeze them for some fun little ice cubes to throw down in your drinks. You don't want the stem on there though. And then this is our leftover jam that we had left. And it's already gelling, so I feel pretty good about cutting the sugar back. I think it's going to gel just fine. So I thought I would just share that extra little tip that we're going to do with some of these grapes just for fun. All right, timer went off. These have been sitting in the water for a few minutes. Still pretty hot, but they all look beautiful. I heard one pop, so let's see if we hear another one. We're gonna let that sit there for a few minutes. I have a plate of beautiful grapes ready to pop into the freezer to freeze. And our jelly here is gelling. Oh, did you hear that? You gotta love that sound. And more grapes to process today. So thanks guys for hanging out with me. Check out the other grape videos. There's another one. Oh, and there's more to come. We're hoping to do a few more trips this fall for the Camping with a Purpose. We'd love to visit some orchards and possibly get some apples. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen, processing the rest of these beautiful Concord grapes. I had so much fun doing this. This was our first trip with Camping with a Purpose, and gosh, it was just a beautiful trip. We are so very blessed. So I ended up making more grape jam. I know I said in this video that I might make more jelly, but my family really loved this grape jam that I did. So we ended up making an entire other batch of grape jam. So I am very pleased with how both the jelly and the jam turned out. I know we'll use both products. And I don't know that I'll need to make any kind of jams or jellies next year at all. We have plenty on our pantry shelf, and I'm so excited. So if you're interested in the jam video, I will link that below, as well as the Camping with a Purpose, the grape edition if you want to see our trip, and our Concord grape juice making video. So hopefully you're getting something out of these videos. Thanks again for hanging out with me. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. All right, take care. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.